All right, so get this. Today we are diving deep, really deep, into Dan Winter's world and his FAY technology.
Oh, yeah, FAY.
It's a doozy.
It's pretty out there, but that's why we're here.
That's why we do these deep dives
Exactly.
into the really interesting stuff.
Yeah, so it's not just some random new gadget.
Yeah.
We're talking about something that supposedly can interact with consciousness.
Yeah, amplify bliss.
Right.
Maybe even has something to do with portals.
Portals, yeah.
We're gonna get into that.
We're going there.
Okay. So what I think is really interesting here is this FAY technology. It builds on Dan Winter's previous work with plasma,
Right.
but takes it to like a whole other level.
Okay, so for anyone who's, just joining us or hasn't heard of Dan Winter, he's a researcher who likes to explore all these intersections of science and consciousness and something he calls sacred geometry.
Right.
But just to back up for a sec, what exactly makes this FAY technology different from, his other plasma stuff? Well, he's added this really powerful magnetic field to the plasma.
Okay.
So imagine like a concentrated beam of magnetic energy.
Okay.
That's kind of working with the plasma.
Gotcha.
Like together, in tandem.
So it's not just plasma doing its thing. There's this added magnetic element.
Right, exactly.
But how does that actually work? Like, what's the science behind that?
Okay, so think of it this way. The magnetic field is like a sculptor,
Okay.
It's shaping and directing the flow of the plasma.
Okay.
So it ends up creating this really structured and coherent energetic field.
Okay, I can picture that.
Yeah, so Winter says this amplified energy field, it resonates with the Earth's natural electromagnetic frequency,
You mean the Schumann resonance?
Yes, the Schumann resonance.
Okay.
So instead of having just like plasma going everywhere,
It's doing its thing.
this magnetic field is giving it direction.
Yeah.
Almost like a conductor leading an orchestra.
Yeah, I like that analogy. That's a good one.
So by amplifying the Schumann resonance, FAY could maybe potentially have all these interesting effects on people.
Okay, so what kind of effects are we talking about here?
Well, think about it. The Schumann resonance, right?
Yeah.
It's like the Earth's heartbeat.
Okay.
And some people think that, being in sync with that frequency can really promote feelings of grounding, connection, deep relaxation.
So being around this FAY thing could make us feel more grounded, relaxed.
Yeah.
Because it's boosting this Earth frequency.
That's the idea.
Interesting.
Yeah, but then Winter takes it even a step further, and he's like, okay, FAY doesn't just create this resonance.
Yeah.
It can also amplify, get this, certain states of consciousness.
Well, and amplified consciousness, what does that even mean?
So what he's saying is people who've been around FAY, experienced it, they report feeling this like this cool, blissful wind.
Really?
Yeah, and this sense of being like enveloped or cocooned. It's almost like FAY creates this energetic bubble that enhances your senses, like your sensory perception.
Oh, wow. So it's not just about, feeling relaxed. It's about feeling like more, like your senses are heightened.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And this is where things get really interesting, because then Winter's like, okay, well, this heightened state, he thinks it can lead to increased clairvoyance.
Wait, hold on. Clairvoyance? Like being able to see things like beyond normal.
Yeah, that's right. And he connects this to his other work on the physics of bliss.
Okay.
And how achieving these like certain energetic states might unlock all this stuff within us, including lucid dreaming, maybe even time travel.
Time travel. Now that is a bold claim.
Oh yeah, it gets pretty out there.
I'm curious, how does he even begin to connect those dots?
So it all goes back to this concept he calls implosive compression.
Okay.
You ever seen a rosebud?
Of course.
Right. Tightly packed, full of potential.
Yeah.
And then boom, it bursts open, this like beautiful radiant bloom.
Right. So it's like all this concentrated energy and then it explodes outwards.
Precisely, yeah.
Okay.
And Winter's suggesting that this same principle, implosive compression and then radiant expansion, it's happening with portals and time travel too.
Whoa.
He uses the term embedding in the array
Embedding in the array.
to describe this process.
So hold on. Are you saying that like achieving bliss is about reaching this state of implosive compression?
Yeah.
And then like expanding into this array, which could be like other dimensions or even like time itself.
You got it.
Whoa. Okay.
And he claims he's observed like preliminary time dilation effects with FAY.
Time dilation, so like time actually slowing down around this thing.
That's what he's suggesting, yeah.
That's wild. Okay.
But here's the thing. He says the environment is, like, super important for all this.
Yeah.
He believes that these technologies like FAY, to really work, they need to be in a natural, harmonious setting, you know?
So like taking it to a busy city surrounded by Wi-Fi and signals, probably not the best idea.
That's exactly what he's saying, yeah. He even has this story about a plasma system that stayed active even after it was turned off, like powered down.
What?
Just because it was in this like pristine natural environment.
Wow, so the environment is like interacting with the technology, almost feeding it with a certain kind of energy.
You could say that, yeah, and it all plays into his stance against technologies like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which he thinks disrupt our natural energy fields.
Makes it harder to reach these like higher states.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So it's like trying to meditate in the middle of a rock concert.
Right.
All that noise is going to make it a lot harder to achieve that calm state.
Exactly. And Winter believes that ancient civilizations, they knew all this. Like, they understood this connection between technology and consciousness and the environment way better than we do now.
Right.
He even points to hieroglyphs as evidence for this ancient knowledge.
That's really interesting. You know, we've talked before about how some ancient cultures might have been more advanced than we give them credit for.
Right.
So this is kind of building on that.
Totally. Yeah. He's suggesting that we might be rediscovering or like reawakening this ancient wisdom about the nature of consciousness and reality itself.
Okay, this is a lot to process.
It is, I know.
Are you saying that this FAY technology could be like a bridge to all these lost ancient secrets?
It's definitely a possibility, and it leads us to another really fascinating concept in his work. Neg entropy.
Neg entropy. Okay, now that sounds intense.
It is. It's a big one.
So is that the opposite of entropy, where things become more ordered instead of chaotic?
You got it.
Okay.
He's basically saying that systems can move from disorder to order.
Okay.
And he believes that FAY has these strong negentropic properties, even stronger than his other technologies.
Huh. So how does that connect to everything else we've been talking about?
Well, he thinks neg entropy is like this key principle in achieving these higher states of consciousness.
Okay.
He suggests that negative emotions like anger or fear, they actually create entropy in our systems, whereas positive emotions, like love and joy, they promote negentropy.
Interesting.
Allowing our energy to become more coherent and organized, you know.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about our internal state too. Like if we're using FAY but we're like constantly stressed or angry, it's not going to work as well.
That's exactly what he's saying, yeah.
Wow.
He even goes so far as to say that these negative emotions can like hinder our spiritual progress and even impact the death experience.
Okay, that takes negentropy to a whole other level.
I know, it's a lot.
So what you're saying is FAY might be a tool that can help us achieve this state of negentropy more easily.
Yeah.
But it's not like a magic bullet, right? We still have to do the inner work.
Exactly. He's essentially proposing this like holistic approach where technology, consciousness, and the environment, they're all connected. And speaking of ancient wisdom, this is where his theories about stargates come in.
Oh, right, stargates. That's one of the things I was most curious about.
It's a big one.
But before we dive into that, we need a little clarification.
Sure.
You mentioned earlier, like, time dilation around FAY.
Yeah.
Has he actually measured that, or is it just like a theoretical concept?
That's a great question, and it's important to note that his claims haven't been, like, independently verified or replicated, you know?
Right.
By the scientific community. Yeah. So it's definitely one of his more controversial ideas.
Good to know. So back to this Stargate thing.
Yeah.
Is he talking about like physical structures, like actual doorways to other dimensions, or is it something else?
It's a little more nuanced than that.
Okay.
He believes that there are certain locations on Earth that are like energetic nodes.
Energetic nodes.
Yeah, these points where the fabric of space-time might become more permeable.
So less about like walking through a physical door and more about these like energetic hotspots that could potentially lead to other realms.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm following.
And Winter believes that these locations were strategically important to ancient civilizations.
Okay.
Potentially used for travel or communication between dimensions or even galaxies.
Okay, now that's where I have to like push back a little bit.
Yeah.
Galaxies, isn't that stretching things a bit far?
It might seem that way, but His interpretation of ancient myths and symbols, it suggests that they might have had a much deeper understanding of the cosmos
Okay.
than we do now.
I can see how that's intriguing, but I'm also wary of, like, romanticizing the past.
Sure.
We have to be careful not to project our own, modern ideas onto them.
Absolutely. It's important to approach these topics with a critical mind
Yeah,
and a healthy dose of skepticism.
right.
But at the same time, there are so many mysteries out there that, our current science can't explain.
That's true, and maybe that's part of what makes Dan Winter's work so fascinating, right? He's not afraid to ask big questions and explore ideas that challenge, like, conventional thinking.
Yeah, precisely. He's pushing the boundaries of science and spirituality, inviting us to consider possibilities that might have seemed like science fiction before.
It's definitely been a mind-bending conversation so far.
It is a lot, yeah.
What stands out to you the most from all this?
I think what's most compelling is his emphasis on the interconnectedness of everything.
Okay.
Technology, consciousness, the environment, even ancient history.
Yeah.
It's like this reminder that we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
Right.
And that our understanding of the universe is constantly evolving,
It's like we're peeling back layers of an onion.
Yeah, I like that.
And with each layer, we're discovering new depths of complexity and, like, interconnectedness.
Yeah, totally.
But I have to admit, a part of me still struggles with this whole portal and interdimensional travel thing.
Yeah.
It all feels so fantastical,
I get it.
Like, how is that even possible?
What if we reframe it a bit? Instead of thinking about portals as like these physical doorways,
Yeah.
what if they're more like energetic gateways?
Yeah.
Shifts in consciousness that allow us to perceive and interact with realities beyond our normal senses.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense. So it's less about physically traveling to another dimension,
Right.
more about, like, expanding our awareness to access different levels of reality.
Exactly.
No.
And maybe technologies like FAY, if they work like he says they do,
Yeah.
could help us, facilitate that expansion of consciousness, allowing us to experience these different realms more directly.
It's definitely a mind-blowing concept.
It is.
But I'm still, like, a little hesitant to fully embrace it.
Sure.
I need more evidence, more, like, concrete examples.
And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Healthy skepticism is key when we're exploring these kinds of ideas.
Right.
But the beauty of it all is that it encourages us to keep questioning, keep exploring, and to keep our minds open,
To new possibilities.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
Keep an open mind.
Yeah. Well, this has been incredible so far, this journey into the world of Dan Winter and FAY.
It has. FAY is fascinating.
It is. So for everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And we'll be back soon with part 2, where we'll explore even more
More to come.
of Dan Winter's wild theories.
We're going deeper.
Yeah, then.
All right. Yeah, so neg entropy. It's a huge concept in his work.
It is.
So we were talking about how he says that systems can move from disorder to order, right?
Right. And that FAY shows those strong properties even stronger than his other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And this ties back to consciousness.
Okay.
He believes that negative emotions like anger or fear, they create entropy.
In us.
Yeah, in our system.
Okay.
And positive emotions like love, joy, those promote the negentropy.
Interesting.
It allows our energy to become more like coherent, more organized.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about our internal state as well.
Exactly. You got it.
So if we're using FAY, but we're, all stressed out, it's not going to work as well.
That's what he's saying.
Fascinating.
He even says that these negative emotions can hinder our spiritual progress
Really?
and even impact like the death experience.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
It is. It's a big concept.
So FAY might be a tool to help us achieve this state of entropy more easily,
Yeah, potentially.
but it's not just a magic bullet.
Well,
We still have to work on ourselves.
exactly. It's a holistic approach. It all ties together.
Mhm.
Technology, consciousness, the environment.
Right. And speaking of ancient wisdom, this is where the Stargate stuff comes in.
Oh, yeah, the Stargates. Everyone wants to know about the Stargates.
So before we dive into that,
Sure.
you mentioned before about the time dilation around FAY.
Yeah,
Has he actually measured this? Or is it just theoretical?
that's a good question.
Yeah.
And it's important to note that those claims haven't been independently verified, like by the scientific community.
Okay. So it's one of his more out there ideas.
It's a big one, yeah.
So back to Stargates.
Oh.
Is he talking about, like, physical structures, like actual doorways, or something else?
It's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
He believes that certain places on Earth
Yeah.
are like these energetic nodes, these points where space-time might be a little more
But
permeable.
less about walking through a physical door
Yeah,
and more about, like, these energetic hotspots that could lead to other realms.
exactly. You got it.
I'm with you.
And he believes that these locations were super important to ancient civilizations,
Okay.
perhaps for travel or communication between dimensions or even galaxies.
Okay, now galaxies, that's where I have to push back a little.
Yeah.
Isn't that a bit of a stretch?
Well, his interpretation of ancient myths and symbols
Yeah.
suggests that these cultures might have had a much deeper understanding of the cosmos than we do now.
I can see how that's intriguing.
Yeah.
But I'm always wary of romanticizing the past.
Sure.
We have to be careful not to project our own ideas onto them.
Absolutely. It's important to be critical
Yeah.
and have a healthy dose of skepticism.
Of course.
But there are so many mysteries out there that our current science just can't explain.
That's true, and maybe that's part of what makes Dan Winter so fascinating, right?
Yeah.
He asks the big questions,
He does.
explores ideas that challenge conventional thinking.
Totally. He's pushing those boundaries of science and spirituality.
Absolutely. It's been a mind-bending conversation.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
So what stands out to you the most from all of this?
You know, I think what's most compelling is his emphasis on interconnectedness.
Okay.
Technology, consciousness, the environment, even ancient history.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we are part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Right.
And our understanding of the universe is always evolving.
It's like we're peeling back layers of an onion.
I like that, the onion analogy.
With each layer discovering new depths of complexity.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I'm still struggling with this whole portal and interdimensional travel thing.
Sure. That's a lot.
It all seems so fantastical.
What if we reframe it a bit?
Okay.
Instead of thinking about portals as these physical doorways,
Yeah.
what if they're more like energetic gateways? Shifts in consciousness that let us perceive and interact with realities beyond our senses.
So it's less about physically traveling
Right.
and more about expanding our awareness
Exactly.
to access different levels of reality.
Yeah, and maybe technologies like FAY could help us do that, experience these realms more directly.
It's a mind-blowing concept,
It is.
but I still need more evidence, more concrete examples.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Healthy skepticism is important with these ideas.
Of course, of course.
But the beauty is that it encourages us to keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep our minds open.
To new possibilities.
Exactly.
I like that a lot. So let's say, for argument's sake, some of this stuff about FAY is true.
Okay.
Like, it can really amplify bliss and give us access to these deeper states.
Right.
What would that mean for us? What could this tech lead to?
That's where it gets really interesting, you know?
Okay, I'm listening.
If it can actually amplify bliss
Yeah.
and help us access those states, imagine the implications for, like, personal growth and healing.
Okay, so what? Are we talking like a supercharged meditation? Or something even bigger?
I mean, what if FAY could help us overcome trauma,
Whoa.
release limiting beliefs, tap into this, like, wellspring of creativity we didn't even know we had?
So it's not just about feeling good. It could help us, like, unlock our potential.
Yeah, and maybe heal some of those deeper wounds.
Wow. Okay, so that's just for the individual.
Right.
What about, like, society as a whole? Could FAY change things on a larger scale?
Yeah. I mean, think about it.
Okay.
What if we could raise our collective consciousness,
Okay.
cultivate more compassion, more empathy,
Right.
tap into this deeper understanding of our interconnectedness?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that create a more harmonious world?
In theory, it sounds amazing, but I'm also thinking about the downsides.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Any tech that powerful, it could be misused.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
I mean, like any tool, you have to approach it with wisdom, ethical considerations,
Yeah.
a deep understanding of its impact.
So it's not just about the tech itself.
Yeah,
It's about our own, like, internal evolution.
exactly. Real progress isn't just about fancy gadgets. It's about us, too.
That's powerful.
Yeah, and it brings us back to that key takeaway from all this, right?
Yeah.
The tech is only as good as the intentions behind it.
Right.
Transformation starts within.
I like that a lot.
Yeah,
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
yeah.
what's one thing you hope listeners take away from all this?
I hope it inspires them
Yeah.
to keep asking questions, stay curious, never stop exploring these mysteries.
The mysteries of the universe and ourselves.
Exactly.
Well said. And maybe it'll spark a little more bliss in their lives, too.
I hope so.
Well, this has been an amazing journey into Dan Winter's world and his FAY tech.
It has. FAY is something else.
It really is.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, keep those minds open and keep exploring.